Hello and a very warm welcome to the Late Breaking F1 podcast presented by Harry Eade, Sam Sage and me, Ben Hocking. It's not the first episode of the year. It's the first proper episode of the year.
Yeah, because we didn't record that one in this year. It was definitely recorded.
We didn't really record it at all.
We did a great intro.
Happy New Day.
Happy New Year Day.
Anyway, that was awful, and we're back to be proper and serious and journalistic in our approach. So we've all decided to wear the colour green if you're watching on YouTube. Not planned at all. It's just lovely, isn't it? Evergreen, like our branding.
Sure. But you're excited to be back, right, Sam?
Oh, I bloody loved it, mate. Can't wait to get cracking on again with the podcasting. I said when we were warming up like it's some kind of exercise.
We do a
stretching out.
Warming up.
Me more.
Brain exercises.
Just got a Sudoku on the go. It just feels so long, genuinely. But I haven't spoken to you all, and it's I missed it. So I'm glad that we're back. Still saying the most ridiculous of things. New year, same me.
Same podcast. It's only 10 more Sundays until F1, guys. Until the first race. Right. So, and there's much
10
more.
As little as that.
Much more to come before that.
Well, we are all warmed up and ready to go for this episode. We are giving out New Year's resolutions to some of the drivers and teams. That's coming up a little bit later on. But we're going to start with the news that we didn't quite get to just before Christmas because there were about 7 other bits of news that we had to attend to. Liam Lawson, we did discuss that pre-Christmas, that he'll be racing for Red Bull in this 2025 season. Of course, that meant there was a space alongside Yuki Tsunoda at RB, and that was taken by Isaac Hadjar, the 20-year-old who finished as runner-up in F2 last season. So, Sam, before we get into some of the discussion points of what we can expect from him, what he'll expect of himself, was it the right call to promote him first and foremost?
Yeah, I think it was. We've seen some failings in the Red Bull Junior category over the last few years. We know that the kind of transition of drivers hasn't been as nicely timed as I imagine all of the Red Bull staffing would have preferred. And even the likes of Yuki Tsunoda himself has become incredibly frustrated with what he needs to do in order to progress in that system. We obviously saw Sergio Perez depart at the end of 2024, didn't get a send-off. Daniel Ricciardo in that mid-season also just ousted from his seat and replaced by Liam Lawson, who is now a Red Bull driver alongside Max Verstappen. Didn't get a send-off. So it does feel like they've finally done the right thing, in my opinion, and that is promote essentially the highest finishing rookie youngster in Isaac Hadjar, in F2, of course, who finished in second place behind Bortoleto, who is going to be driving for Sauber this season, to a junior role. That makes a lot of sense to me, and it should hopefully continue his development. He has been a promising youngster. He has not had the most glittering of junior careers. He's never really come away with any major wins. He's never really taken any major titles. Didn't win that F2, but he has shown some great promise and some great development in his ability to step up when it comes to each change of the category that he's moving into. So hopefully, after some time, he can be at least on level playing field with the likes of Yuki Tsunoda across the 2025 season.
Harry, your thoughts on whether this was the right call for RB to promote him?
Yeah, totally the right call. The Daniel Ricciardo experiment didn't work, did it? And I agree with Sam. The send off was poor, but in terms of the call to let him go, it was the right one. It's obviously given Lawson the chance to then prove his worth and go to Red Bull. And this is the next correct step from the Red Bull junior program to promote Hadjar. As you say, Sam, it's not the most glittering career in junior career, but he's still pretty talented, and this is a chance for him to prove himself. You could say the same for Yuki Tsunoda when he got promoted from F2 to that seat. So yeah, it's definitely the right call from RB on this one, or from Red Bull on this one. It's what that team is allegedly there for, although not there for last year, because they said they weren't a junior team anymore, but they are again now.
What are you lying for?
Why are you lying for? Just an excuse.
Get those top fives coming soon.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Hadjar will be hoping that Ricciardo was actually right just a year early in his prediction. We'll wait and see. It certainly was the obvious choice, and I think it was the right one. If you look at the rest of the Red Bull junior team, it's difficult to know who else they would have gone for. I think the other maybe obvious contender for this would have been Iwasa, who did a couple of years in F2. He finished 5th and finished 4th in his couple of seasons there. So I think he would have been the other obvious contender if Hadjar hadn't performed as well as he had done in F2 this last season. But equally, Hadjar finishing second means that as a finish was better than either of Iwasa's efforts. And also Hadjar is 3 years younger than Iwasa. So I think he was the obvious contender. The other up-and-coming driver within the Red Bull Junior team that I've mentioned on a few occasions is Arvid Lindblad, but ultimately he doesn't yet have the super license points. And even if he did, he would need that exemption from the FIA, being just 17 years of age. So I think he's certainly a contender for the future. But for now, Hadjar was the right call. You speak of his junior career, and I agree with you both that whilst it was never glittering, it was never look, this is a guy that will end up in F1, no questions asked. He is a can't miss prospect. He's always been solid enough that he's been in that conversation. He started out as many young French drivers do in the French F4 Championship. Did pretty well in 2 seasons there. He finished 3rd in his 2nd year, and the only 2 drivers he lost out to, one of them was actually Iwasa, the other one was Ren Sato, both of whom a couple of years older than Hadjar. Moves to Freca, finishes 5th. He's the best rookie there. Then moves to F3, finishes 4th, and he's only just behind Oliver Behrman, who, of course, he'll be up against this season in F1. And then we look at F2. It was a tough first year for him. He finished 14th, but he turned that around with his 2nd year to finish as runner-up. And I always say with sort of junior careers, particularly when it comes to F2 and F3, what I'm looking for most is how you're performing in those feature races, because whilst the sprint races are important for the point standings, ultimately you're not going to get that when you get to F1, because whilst there are sprint races in F1, there's no reverse grid element to them as there are in F2 and F3. So you sometimes get prospects in F2 will score a lot of points in the sprint races, and maybe it's not completely reflective of what they might expect when they get to F1. But Hadjar won 4 feature races, which is crucial for that's how the weekend is roughly going to be set up when you get to F1. So I think this was the right decision. What about his expectations? We know he's got Yuki Tsunoda as a teammate, Sam, highly experienced when it comes to that junior team now. What do you think Hadjar will be expecting of himself in terms of competing with Tsunoda, when he can expect to compete with Tsunoda?
It was very different to what we used to see with rookies maybe 10 or 15 years ago, when seasons were much shorter, and it definitely seemed to take a lot more time for rookies to bed in. But we're seeing such strong successes with rookies over the last couple of years. You look to the likes of Behrman, who did brilliantly last year, Piastri, who's 2 years in now and has done fantastically well, that these drivers who are wanting to be at the very top, and obviously Hadjar's aspirations will want to be joining Max Verstappen in that Red Bull seat. I'm sure will never wish badly upon anyone, but I'm sure secretly he's going, I hope Lawson isn't perfect, because Yuki Tsunoda is not looking like the ideal choice. So if I get a solid year, maybe they'll consider me and I might do a better job. So I do think that whilst we, from an outside point of view, will quite happily sit here and say, he's got a year to prove himself, but I actually think that in his mind, he's more going to be thinking the season is so long. I'm going to have a lot of time here to get used to the car and then kick on. I think the first 10 or so races, he will have all of the grace in the world to put it in the wall, be near the back, not be particularly quick. Tsunoda might beat him regularly, and that's fine. But I think in his own expectations, and now how I've seen a lot of rookies behave, in my expectations, in the second half of the year, I would like to see him be very close to Yuki Tsunoda. I'm not going to make any bones about it. At the end of the year, I do not expect him to be ahead of Yuki Tsunoda in points. And I will not blame him for not being so.
Teammate was spoiler there.
But I'm sure Hadjar would like to be very, very close. And I'm sure even in his own expectations, he's a racing driver, he's competitive. He's going to want to be as close as he can to someone who is now very experienced in the likes of Yuki Tsunoda and will be pushing to be as close to every single Grand Prix. So he's got time to work his way into it and get comfortable. But then he's got to kick on. And I think that's what he'll be expected to do so as well. We don't know where that car's going to be, of course. But I think as long as he's finishing a position or two away from Tsunoda, he can be very happy with himself.
We've seen ever since Pierre Gasly departed the RB program that Yuki Tsunoda has had a few teammates, and he's been between competitive and dominant against them. Based on that, Harry, how do you expect Isaac Hadjar to look at this season that's coming up and what his expectations of himself will be?
Yeah, look, I think it would be unwise for Hadjar to think he's going to go in there and start beating Tsunoda. If he did start beating Tsunoda off the bat, great for Hadjar, but I think his expectation shouldn't be that straight away. Like you say, Sam, it's a long year in F1, so it might not take him a long time to get up to speed. We've seen with Liam Lawson, I know he was up against Tsunoda for a few races in 2023, but into 2024, he's come in and been was relatively competitive enough for Red Bull to give him the seat, Lawson the seat over Tsunoda. So it might not take him as long as maybe, as you say, it used to, but I don't think Hadjar should go into this. If Hadjar gets to the end of the year and hasn't beaten Tsunoda, or isn't really close to Tsunoda, I don't think he can be disappointed. If he's miles away in pace, that's probably a different question, but if he's a few tenths slower than Tsunoda at each race this season, I don't think that's necessarily a disaster, just considering the experience that Tsunoda. The experience that Yuki Tsunoda has is a ridiculous sentence because he's about 12, isn't he? That's not allowed.
He is. You're right. No, he is 12.
He's a 12-year-old boy. But that's what.
Can we talk about how Carlos Sainz at 30 years old is the fourth most experienced driver on the grid? Fourth oldest, sorry.
I don't know if you've seen these. Sometimes you'll be scrolling through social media and you'll get recommended like a reel or something, and it'll be one of those like and it'll build like a pyramid of, and this one was Formula One drivers in their races, and it got to Carlos Sainz, and he was, as you mentioned, Beck, fourth on the list. But in my brain, I hadn't been fully paying attention, so I was like, it's got to be at least another 7 or 8 drivers to come. Three more than him. That is audacious. He's only been here for 2.5 years, isn't he? He's brand new.
Are we now at the point where Lance Stroll is the second most experienced driver at a team? Outside of Verstappen at Red Bull?
Yes.
That's horrible.
I saw a thing the other day, there's only 3 drivers that are still at the same team. Verstappen at Red Bull, Lance Stroll was Racing Point and Aston Martin, Lando Norris at McLaren.
Is this versus 2020?
It was versus 2020. Versus 2020. Yeah. Gross.
Ridiculous. Sorry, we got sidetracked with that.
Completely sidetracked. No, but that's my point. Tsunoda has a lot of seasons under his belt now already, even as a youngster of the sport. So I think Hadjar shouldn't be gutted or disappointed with himself if he comes in and is beaten. I don't want to say absolutely thrashed by Tsunoda, but is comprehensively beaten by Tsunoda. I don't think that's a disaster. I think Red Bull will be looking more for his pace, consistency, and if he exceeds those expectations, that's obviously better for him.
I think one thing we saw with Lawson versus Tsunoda is that almost straight away there wasn't much between them, and I think as kind of you've both alluded to, that one of the trends we've seen in recent years is just how fast rookies can get up to speed with their more experienced teammates. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean they're the complete finished article, right? They still need a year, 2 years to fully refine what they're doing and to crash less and to really get that long run pace. But we've seen it in like just last year alone. How long did Colapinto need to get up to speed with Alex Albon? Really? 2 races? Behrman in his first outing for Haas, him and Hulkenberg were on the same piece of track at Azerbaijan. There was nothing between them. And I think, and Lawson and Tsunoda is obviously the other example. So based on that, yes, we're not expecting Hadjar to beat Tsunoda from race 1 and race 2, but I think if by mid-season he's not somewhere around Tsunoda in terms of regular-ish pace, he'll be somewhat disappointed. Just how quickly these drivers are getting up to speed now. I guess this is the question that many Red Bull drivers of the past and RB drivers of the past would like to know the answer to, Sam, but there very much seems to be a case of either you massively thrive within this program or you are spat out by it. How does Hadjar become part of the former group?
I'm so glad you've asked me, Ben, because I definitely hold the answer that all of those drivers struggled to get.
Kvyat is listening.
Tell me, please. No, Daniel, go away. pouring at the glass. Realistically, I think it's an attitude thing. I genuinely think it's a mindset and an attitude thing. You look at the drivers that have thrived. You look at Max Verstappen. You look at Daniel Ricciardo. You look at Sebastian Vettel. You look at what is possibly going to be Liam Lawson. And this was true in how the Red Bull group spoke about Lawson when they promoted him to Perez's seat. It is not necessarily the outright pace immediately. Yes, of course, and very important, but it's the willingness to basically be the bad guy on the racetrack, to kind of be so cutthroat in your attitude and the way you approach racing and the way you approach success. You know, I will step on the shoulders of anyone to climb higher and ensure that I win for this team. I think that drives them to want that kind of personality, that kind of instinct. And Max Verstappen embodies that. He's very much you heard about it when he was defending from Norris in Mexico last season. He's like, I don't care what I have to do. I'll overstep every line in the book if it means that it helps my race. And they love that. They absolutely love that mentality. So I think if Hadjar even has 50% of Verstappen's cutthroatedness and his want to succeed over every other person. And we saw Lawson flipping the bird at Perez and them two shouting at each other via the big screen in Mexico again, actually, last year. I think that's what they want. So those drivers who are calmer, maybe a little bit more soft-spoken, like to do a lot of the debating, driving in their mind. So you look at your Albons, your Gaslys, brilliant talents in their own right, but very different in personality to a Ricciardo or to a Verstappen. Don't thrive there. Don't do well there. They need someone who is willing to throw the door open, put their foot down, make their mark. I think Hadjar needs to make sure he embodies that.
Yeah, he needs to show that he can soak up the pressure that comes from being in that program. And you're right. I think it's more of an attitude thing versus a performance thing. Liam Lawson is the blueprint on this, right? Where him and Tsunoda were relatively evenly matched. But I think what has got Lawson the nod is the fact that he is this. He does seem to have at least somewhat that Verstappen mentality. So we'll see how Hadjar fares. Harry, we've seen a bit of a mix. We've got a lot of rookies coming in this season. And there is a bit of a mix between those that are getting multi-year contracts and just one-year deals. So you've got Hadjar is one of those that's only on a one-year deal. Jack Doohan and Antonelli are the same. But you also have the likes of Bortoleto and Behrman that have been signed up for 2 years. I guess there's maybe not that much surprise that RB and Red Bull have gone for the one-year option with Hadjar. But how does that play into things?
I mean, this is the thing when you're a rookie. It's kind of surprising that the likes of Behrman and Bortoleto have got 2 years. You'd imagine they have break clauses in them. And also, I swear now contracts don't really mean much in F1 because you just... True. who cares anymore? Because
Sergio Perez, is that you?
Yeah, exactly. Hope you well, Sergio, by the way. But
having a Kit Kat.
He's having lots of Kit Kats. But yeah, so if for the likes of Hadjar and Antonelli, the 1 year you can't complain as a rookie. You get a 1 year to prove yourself, and then maybe you get an extension. So and it works for the team as well. So there is that added bit of pressure, but I don't think it means any more pressure than they already would be under to prove themselves, because Behrman and Bortoleto are arguably under the same pressure. Behrman, I guess, has already had chance to prove himself, Bortoleto less so, but I don't think it will affect their mentalities too much in terms of the pressure they're under. This is their big break in F1. They probably be feeling the pressure anyway. So I don't think the length of the contract has too much effect on them.
I was told pressure was for tyres.
Cheers, Alan.
Alan, is that you? My hero.
Yeah, I think you're right in what you say in that if Hadjar had a 2 year deal and he wasn't performing very well after one, he's not racing a second season. Nah. If he has a 1 year deal and he doesn't perform very well, he's not getting a new deal. In either event, he's not racing a second season. So I think you're fair to point that out. Let's take our first break on this episode. On the other side, we're handing out some New Year's resolutions to some drivers and teams.
And they love them.
I can't wait.
They don't actually set New Year's resolutions because they wait for us to set them. Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. We are now handing out some New Year's resolutions. And we're going to start with Sam. Lando Norris.
Is that it? Is that what I get?
Yeah.
All right.
What's his New Year's resolution?
Get good, son. No, that's a joke. That is a joke.
Come on now.
I've started the year with a joke.
Is he the most overrated driver in history? I don't know.
Singamar. Absolute Singamar, this conversation. No, it's keep doing what you're doing, if I'm honest. Keep doing what you're doing. Because whilst you made little mistakes in 2024, your starts weren't perfect. You had a bit of a whinge sometimes over the radio. You know, there were moments where you were not absolutely perfect. You came second to the best driver on the planet. So if McLaren are there right from the start, which they weren't last year, you were doing pretty much enough. So keep doing what you're doing. And that is, I'm going to keep it as simple as that is. He did a great job last year. He proved that he could put in a title challenge. There were some slip-ups from him, but essentially consolidate the good, remove the bad, keep doing what you're doing from day one to the last day of the office. And I think he's got a chance.
I think if I had to pick one thing for him, it's doing what Lewis Hamilton did a few years ago, which is identify that his starts are clearly a weakness, because people forget that Lewis Hamilton, at the times in his Mercedes days, that was the one glaring thing that he wasn't as good as Rosberg at. And he got better at it.
It was quite impressive, actually, how that one time he went away on that winter's break and he literally said, I'm going to work on my starts. And he came back and he had the fastest start times out of anyone all season. My man was like, I will not be beaten again.
Sat in his living room at Christmas Day.
Yeah. Don't talk to me,
practicing.
Dad. I'm doing my starts.
And that's how Norris should have been spending his Christmas.
Unwrapping presents faster than anyone else from where they say go.
Verstappen calls him. I've already opened all of mine. God damn it. Speaking of Verstappen, maybe a slightly difficult challenge for you, Harry, because what should the resolution be for the man that won it all last year, Max Verstappen?
Good question. I've just realised as well, because I love the 3-word summaries. I've written all these in 3-word summaries without realising.
I can't get out of that mindset.
But anyway, I've put for Verstappen, don't get frustrated, because I think this year could be one of the most competitive F1 seasons we've ever been. I know it's early days. We're only in the first week of Jan.
It's jinx.
It's jinx. But if it is as I think it's going to be, Red Bull and Verstappen are going to have a tough time, and they will not enjoy the lovely start that they had in 2024. And we saw at times last year, I'm thinking Hungary, where Verstappen absolutely lost his head. And it all went badly. He still finished like 6th, didn't he? But it went badly for him that race. And I think if there's a lot of drivers and teams involved in this championship fight, I think Verstappen's never had that. He's had a championship fight with Hamilton, but that was one driver, one team. He's had a bit of a battle with Norris this year, but to be honest, he rarely got frustrated. Again, Hungary being the exception, and Mexico probably. Whereas I think this year could be a new challenge for Verstappen. So yeah, that's what I'm going to say. I think because as long as he doesn't get frustrated and uses the enormous bag of talent that he has, he'll be fine. I think
like Santa's sack, that talent. Isn't it?
Yeah, huge. But yeah, I think that's what he's going to be careful of, and I'm fearing for GP and his blood pressure.
If GP makes it past like halfway through the year, I'll be shocked. I think that rule applies off track as well, because it's going to be a big year for him in determining what he wants to do in his future as well. Obviously, it's the last year of this current set of regulations. It might extend to if they are having a bad year, but actually part of the reason why they're having a bad year is because they have cooked up a monster for 2026. You don't want to get too frustrated off track and making a rash decision of moving elsewhere before the Red Bull gets dominant again. So I think it's something that can be applied both on and off track.
Ben, for your one,
yeah,
are you doing it all in Italian?
For Lewis Hamilton?
Yeah.
Andiamo di nuovo.
Andiamo di nuovo.
We go
on
again.
The basis of... I don't know Italian.
I thought you learned over Christmas.
Oh,
no
Duolingo for you.
How impressed would you be if I'm not?
Please.
Honestly, yeah. I'd applaud. I'd stand up and applaud if you did the whole thing in Italian.
Nah, I'm too British biased to learn other languages. Right. Lewis Hamilton. Challenge everything.
Oh, EA Sports.
We're in the game.
Yeah, challenge everything. EA Sports actually is Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton, if you've not been paying any attention, has won quite a lot in F1. And if you haven't been paying much attention, Ferrari haven't won a lot in a long, long time.
2007.
Well, the fact that, Lewis Hamilton could turn around and say, oh, yeah, they pipped me for that championship. Oh, wait, that was my rookie season. I'm 40 this week. It's been a long time since Ferrari were competitive. George Bush was the president the last time.
Not the W.
Big
W was president. We had so much.
Lewis could do with a few W's.
But Netflix was still doing DVDs the last time Ferrari won a championship.
Actually,
it's been a while.
Goodness me.
So my point is, like, Lewis Hamilton needs to go in there and just question and challenge everything, because just because there's a way that Ferrari does something doesn't mean it's right. Like, you have come from, I know they've had difficult years the last couple of years, but Mercedes have been an historically successful team more recently than Ferrari have. If there are things that you can bring outside of your wonderful talent as a racing driver, then you absolutely should. So yeah, just don't settle, please. I'd like to see you competitive.
Lewis and Charles should be unreal, so please make it happen.
I was thinking about this the other day. I know it's a lot of hype's been made about this, the move, and Ferrari social media is rinsing it, and I love it. The first time we see him in a Ferrari overalls or like liveried car or whatever, it's going to be so weird.
I'm going to explode.
I'm not ready for it. It's just such an odd, but not in a bad way, just like I'm not prepared.
I'm ready to be embraced.
First time like he goes into the Ferrari pits, I'll be like, you've gone to the wrong place.
Where you going, mate? Yeah.
Like, why? Why have you done that?
Lewis Hamilton in red is a bizarre idea, isn't it?
Yeah. I find it crazy that obviously we're not going to get onto teammate wars until some point next month.
That's going to be a spicy one.
It's going to be a spicy one because unless I'm miscalculating, 2 of the 10 teams have the same lineup as what started last year.
I'm going to pick Gasly over Ocon again.
That's not how teammate wars work.
3 for 3.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Should we do some more New Year's resolutions while we're here? Sam, Kimi Antonelli, of course, in his debut season at Mercedes. What do you think?
Imagine if I did this in Italian now. You'd be blown away. I can't. Anyway, quite simple. Absorb everything. Learn everything.
EA Sports again.
EA Games. Absorb everything. I just can't get that 3 words out of my head either. So everything's like 3 words or under for these. My Sauber one, which I've got to get a spoiler, is also 3 words.
Goodness me. Good.
Anyway, absorb everything. You're quick. You are quick, but learn. Be willing to learn. Be willing to take on feedback. Be willing to learn from George Russell, who has been proving time and time again that he's a real brilliant talent in Formula One. Don't go out there in practice again like it's the end of Q3 and you're trying to go for pole and then stick it straight in the wall. But if you do, learn from it. Don't do it again. This is my point as to a rookie is you have the raw talent. People like Toto believing you. Oh, Kimi, I believe in you. You can do it.
Is he French as well? Where was that? It's been a while.
He's a multicultural Toto, okay? He's everywhere. He's everywhere all at once. Toto Wolf edition.
And I've been multicultural Toto. We don't just sing about Africa anymore. We sing about the whole world.
God bless the snows down in Antarctica. Anyway, they believe in you for a reason, and you've got time on your side. Despite having only a 1-year deal, I do think that is very unlikely to always be a 1-year deal. I don't think you're really at risk of being chucked out the car at the end of the year unless Max Verstappen puts his hand in there and goes, I only ever want to drive for Mercedes again. But you learn everything. Take every opportunity on board. Sit back, absorb, and I think you could be a real talent. So take this year to absolutely absorb every single experience and perfect yourself as a driver, because there's always more you can do.
What sort of a teammate does he need to be to George Russell? Like, does he need to be
feisty little bugger?
Is he going to be massively supportive? Like, we need to work as a team to get the most out of this car, or is he going to be an absolute menace to him? Like, which?
Weirdly, I don't think he needs to be either. I actually think it's entirely on George Russell to almost dictate that. And I think now George is almost for the first time in his entire career the leader of a team here. He needs to go to Kimi. The car is here. For the most part, even Lewis and George, they weren't always on the same bit of racetrack. They just got on with it. But if they do come together, George should politely, but of course it's George, he would politely do anything, put his foot down and say, "Dear sir, I'm in charge right now. You will follow the instructions that I will give to you in due course."
Clive?
And Charles, back in the cupboard. And I'm sure that Kimmy will hopefully go, "Sure, if I'm quicker than you, then I'm still going to overtake you. But nonetheless, I'm here to be part of the team. I don't want to pee anyone off right now."
I always go back to the Ferrari, and I know it's not exactly the same situation because Leclerc had a year in Sauber and he wasn't a complete rookie, but you look at the 2019 season, Vettel and Leclerc, the first race at Australia, Ferrari deployed team orders to keep Vettel ahead. We get to, I think, the second race, which is at Bahrain, and they try again with keeping Leclerc behind and asking him not to overtake Vettel, and Leclerc goes, "Nah, I ain't got time for that. I'm going to overtake him."
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not expecting that will be the exact situation here, and it's not directly comparable, but yeah, I'm just wondering whether Antonelli will take almost the Leclerc versus Vettel approach.
That was insane when you think back about it, wasn't it? Genuinely, like, that is mad. I say he was going to be world champion that year.
You did. And to think that would have only been 1 year after Daniel Ricciardo was world champion, eh, Harry?
What a couple of seasons we had.
I'd love someone to create LB history. What it would look like if we got everything right.
What do you mean? We get everything right already?
No.
Not even close. We've discussed his teammate already, Harry, but Oscar Piastri, what should his New Year's resolution be?
I said it's time for consistency for Oscar Piastri. And again, I was thinking about this. I always feel really bad for, this isn't criticism, but I feel really bad for any sort of not criticism, but any sort of feedback we level at Piastri, because he's been so good over these past 2 years. But I think the last thing is, the last chink in his armor is consistency over a race distance, which he's mostly got better at. But I think Norris is still better than him. We saw a few wobbles in latter races, a couple of qualifying performances that were a bit naff from Piastri, but. These are small things for a driver that has only been in the sport 2 seasons, which again, it's quite mad that he's doing this well already. So yeah, but that's the only thing really. I think if he can be as consistent as he was at some races this year, where he won, I think it will give Norris a real headache. It'll be a great thing for McLaren, but it will give Lando Norris quite a headache because. Piastri could be beating Norris on a regular basis. So that's the only thing he's got to concentrate on. And again, this isn't. I'm not saying it's been a bad thing because he's pretty new in terms of the sport. But I think just keep up that consistency, which he has been working on a lot. But I think that needs to improve to a basis to a point where it's the same every race and not just 70% of the season. I think it needs to be 100% now.
He is, and I'm staying true to this theory. He is anti-Tsunoda, not like AUNT. I mean ANTI Tsunoda.
Anti-Tsunoda.
Hey, anti-Tsunoda's a great character.
First character for the season. Hall of Famer early entry. Yuki's auntie.
Yeah, I'd love to meet her. No. Oh no!
There's nothing wrong with that.
The anti-Tsunoda, the ANTI Tsunoda, because where Tsunoda can only do the first 3 races and last 3 races of the year, Piastri can only do like the middle 15. He can't do the beginning or the end. It is interesting, and I know we've already spoken about how there's a lot of change in the driver lineup this year. McLaren is one of those very few lineups that is staying exactly the same as last year. That they've got a real opportunity to build on what was already a very successful 2024. And from an individual's point of view, for Oscar Piastri, I know he never really needed to move out of the way, but the discussion of Papaya rules was very frequent in the second half of the season. I'm sure Piastri would quite like for that just not to be a thing. And the easiest way for that not to be a thing is to be level or beating Lando Norris. So I think he'd appreciate not having to deal with that again. I'll go with Liam Lawson next. And I know we've already discussed him a little bit as thanks to the first conversation we had on today's episode, but stay aggressive. Just don't change who you are, because that's why you are where you are, is because of what you've already displayed in the junior team. And the fact that he does have seemingly the right mentality for this Red Bull program. And he just needs to go on the attack, I think, every single session. I don't think this is actually one of those situations where I'm saying, maybe by race 20, you could be beating Verstappen if you can get close to him after 15 and be somewhat close after 10. I think he just needs to, with the way that the Red Bull program has been in the past, he just needs to show from the off, I can beat him. Whether he will or not, I'm pretty doubtful. But I think he just needs to go into every session with 100% self-confidence, whether it's misguided or not. Even if you know that sometimes, and maybe most of the time, it's not going to work out, I think that might just, at least that mentality would separate him from his predecessors that haven't worked out. That's the reason he's in the seat, is that they haven't worked out. So I just don't think he should change at all from what has got him to the pie.
I used to listen to that song, that Liam Lawson song. I'm Liam Lawson. Have you heard that?
No.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'll send it to you, Sam. It's Thank very you. Good.
It's nice to be involved in the conversation sometimes.
I'd love to be part of a joke one day.
Where's the outsider?
Should get that made up. Right. Let's take our second break on this episode. On the other side, we've got a few more New Year's resolutions for you. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to look at a few teams now. We've done a fair few drivers to this point. So the running theme with all three teams is that they probably need to be better than what they were in 2024. We'll start with Williams, who finished second last in the championship. Harry, what have you got for them?
Listen to Carlos. Williams are a team that are very much concentrating on 2026. So if they have a season where they end up 7th again, they end up 9th. It doesn't really matter to them in James Vowles' big plans. But they've got the experience of Carlos Sainz, which again is sickening because he's also about 14. But he is one of the most experienced drivers on the grid now, shockingly. And that is such an asset they're gaining that I don't doubt that they will, but they need to utilize his experience. And I'm not saying Williams don't have experience, but they're getting a fresh set of eyes on everything. A driver that's coming from Ferrari, the team with the biggest budget on the grid. Previously, McLaren, the team that have just won the constructors. He's got a lot of top of the grid experience, and Williams should be absolutely rinsing him for that knowledge, that experience, and make sure they listen to him as they get ready for 2026. So I have no doubt that they will. No doubt this is why part of the reason why James Vowles got Carlos, but Williams need to make sure they listen to him because this is another big learning year for them in terms of getting ready for the next set of rules. And whether they finish 9th or 7th, obviously there's a financial difference, which is important to Williams, but in terms of their overall plans, it doesn't matter too much. I think this is more about getting ready for the big one.
It's very rare that a team as low down in the championship standings as Williams are have a lineup comprised of an ex-Ferrari and an ex-Red Bull driver. That's pretty good go. You won't go back in history and see too many instances of that. And obviously Albon's been there for a few years, but I guess, do you agree with Harry's point, Sam, that Carlos Sainz needs to, or they need to allow Carlos Sainz to feed back wherever possible? What's
the point in having him? You may as well have picked up a rookie or a much cheaper driver who was much earlier in his career if you weren't going to take on his expertise outside of the car as well as inside of it. He's got so much feedback to give in terms of his time with McLaren, which of course was beginning to be on the up, and then his development with Ferrari, where he sat alongside the likes of course, Charles Leclerc. He knows how a successful car is built. He's won races. He's led Grand Prix. He's had upgrades fail what's the point in hiring someone of Carlos Sainz's caliber if you're not going to listen to his feedback when it comes to any form of development? You'd be silly to do otherwise.
I think there's another benefit to it as well, which is keeping Carlos Sainz motivated, because in all likelihood, he's going to have the worst car he's had since his Toro Rosso days, which is a long time ago now, given that team has gone through 3 rebrands since then. But yeah, it's been a while since he'll have been struggling probably in the lower down parts of the grid. And him being as involved as possible in the 2026 car and everything going forward, that's your best chance of keeping him motivated for sticking around, because it wouldn't surprise me if another team tries to poach him. They'll be looking at what Williams are doing, or rather not doing, in terms of on-track performance, and think there's an opportunity to sign him. I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Red Bull decided they made a mistake in not thinking about him more to begin with. So if and when that happens, the best chance Williams have got of holding on to him is just, this is what's coming. It's going to be good. Don't you worry. And then if it's not very good, then you've got a real problem. Another team, Sam, Sauber.
Yeah, continuing this 3 words resolutions that me and Harry have decided to go down, I've got joined the conversation. Essentially, the other 9 teams are all sat in a nice circle with tea and biscuits having a good old chit chat. I guess Sauber have gone to like the wrong hotel room. They just turned up at the wrong restaurant and sat on their own talking to nobody. It's about time that you decide to actually be a part of this grid. You're going to be Audi in less than 12 months now. Audi will be joining the Formula One grid in less than 12 months, which is crazy. You can't be flailing around at the back multiple seconds slower than everyone else now. You need to start having upgrades that are efficient, upgrades that work. And whilst we all know that much like Williams, their aim is not for success within 2025, there will be some continuations. There will be some core principles that follow over from 25 to 26 that they still aren't getting right. They still don't seem to understand. They're not developing properly and succinctly. You've got a good lineup. Hulkenberg was one of the drivers of the season last time out, and Bortoleto looks like he could be really impressive. And you need to hold on to him, because if he looks quick and you can't provide him with a car that is going to allow him to have the career he wants to go down, then you might lose a great asset there as well and be left very much in hot water. So join the conversation, start being a lot more practical and efficient with the upgrades that you're putting on that car. And actually, you know what, if you still finish 10th, but you finish 10th by a point and you're actually fighting regularly with the cars in front, that's a good step that could set you up for success in 2026. Otherwise, you leave yourselves with way too much to do.
Were you encouraged by the way they ended 2024? Because whilst it didn't give them too many points, if we're looking at the middle of last season, they really were distant. The end of last season, Bottas makes a Q3 in Abu Dhabi, Zhou gets some points as well. Is that evidence that at least they might have caught up to even if they are still last, they might have caught up to the pack?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to see for the whole season, right? Every single race, you might get a car in P11 or 12 in qualifying. You might never get points again. But if you're always fighting, actually regularly, 11th, 12th, 13th, and there's you and 2 other teams always in that space, at least you're competitive. At least you're there to pick up points if something bad goes on in front of you. But 21 of 24 races last season, you were literally in no man's land, and there's no point you being there. So, yeah, take those final couple of races, apply that for all of 25.
Alpine.
Oh, no.
I mean, the temptation here is to just say, don't be you. Like, just, I know everyone always, be yourself. Like, no, you're the exception to that rule. Don't be yourself. Just be anyone but yourself. But I am going to be a bit more precise and say, give Doohan a chance. Please give him a chance, because look, you hired him over Esteban Ocon. I massively disagreed with the decision at the time. And guess what? Time has not changed anything. I still disagree with you as much today. But you made the call, and you need to deal with the consequences of that decision, whether they are positive or negative. You know, you have full permission, Alpine, to laugh at me if Doohan ends up being a massive upgrade over Ocon. But whether they are positive consequences or negative consequences, you've made your bed. You've got to deal with whatever they are. And we've already got comments about, well, we quite like the look of Colapinto, and, well, we don't know for sure if Doohan will do the full season. That is not how you instill confidence in a rookie. I shouldn't have to tell you that, but you really need to do better at that. Give him the full season. Now, you don't want to go too far the other way and do what Williams did with Logan Sargent and just be stubborn about it, where they gave him a second year when they really shouldn't have done. If at the end of 1 year it's not working, fine, move on. But at least give him the full season to show whether he is worthy of being in that seat. Although, to be honest, I think I'm worthy of being in that seat based on how they performed last year. Just give him a chance and stop with all the chatter about other options, because that ain't helping.
Why can't Alpine just shut up and keep things to themselves? Why has everything got to be a public discussion?
That's the thing. I'm not even against them having interest in Colapinto. Just don't talk about it.
Jack Doohan's like, I'm not doing anything.
First one of the year.
Come on.
First episode, we got it. Like you said, man, let the poor lad at least have a crack at the whip before you let someone else kind of settle into it.
Yes, mate. He did Abu Dhabi. He's had a chance.
Sure, yeah, that's a chance. He sucks because the car was so crap.
You see where Gasly was? That's really poor, Jack. Come on.
He upheld P6 on his own. Yeah, just shut up. Talk to each other. Got the press all the time.
Since we've got a little bit of time, bonus one here, because I don't think we've had any attention on either of the drivers or the team. Aston Martin. Anyone want to take this one?
Lance Stroll's final year.
Is that a resolution?
Yes.
To the team.
By the end of the year, we will fire Lance Stroll.
I was going to say,
Harry.
You could just go for keep Fernando happy, because in the similar way to Carlos Sainz, just got to keep him motivated for one more
Show
year.
A photo of Adrian Newey in the week.
There you go. Look, he's here.
Sellotape it onto the halo.
Look, I've no doubt that Alonso is invested in the fact that they're aiming for 26. He's signed for at least 2026, and gosh, he might do more after that. But that's what they're all aiming for. I just think there are a few cracks starting to show. I saw actually Mike, speaking of cracks, I saw that Mike Crack said that, you know, he was glad that his drivers didn't speak out too much about their car. And I was like, I seem to remember Fernando saying a little few words towards the end of the year, but okay.
Most outspoken man in history.
Yeah, I think they just got to keep, he's had a winter off, he's happy, but keep that under control, because if he gets too frustrated, who knows, this could be a much better year for Aston Martin. But if it's like last year, they just got to keep big Fernando happy.
In a realistic sense, though, you have to say to Aston Martin, why would this be a better year? What's the point in this being a better year?
Well, exactly. They're not going to invest in it, are they?
It doesn't make sense to. So as long as Alonso is fully aware that, you know what, this ain't going to be a year for winning races, but we're putting everything into 26, you just need to hold on. You might keep having, but yeah, if you want to fight, if you want to be successful in 26, you're going to have Adrian Newey and the like. You've got to have two cars that can fight for points regularly. I'm sorry, Lance. When does the time finally get to? I know he's your son, and it's delightful that you want to give him his hopes and dreams, but he's crushing any chance of success that you're going to have.
If I had any advice to Aston Martin, I would just say, reminding Fernando Alonso that it won't be a season full of wins is exactly the same as he's had for the last 12 years. That will probably really make him happy. So definitely remind him of that.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I agree with you both. Let's take our final break on this episode. And on the other side, it's back and forth.
Oh, New Year, same games. Come on.
New Year, same us.
Yeah, this podcast never changes.
Welcome back, everyone. For the first time this year, it's time for a bit of back and forth.
F1. Back and forth, it's F1. Back and forth, it goes backwards. Then goes forth, it's F1. Back and forth, F1. Slaps so much harder, you haven't heard it for a minute.
Beautiful. Back and forth. If you're new and you haven't heard back and forth before, firstly, thank you so much for tuning in and making us part of your day in this brand new year of 2025. Massively appreciated. I'll explain the rules to you. Sam versus Harry, they go back and forth on correct answers to a question until one of them can't think of an answer or gives an incorrect answer. Now, I did say that it's New Year, same us. But in reality, there's a little something new, because I've given out a lot of strikes recently to you both.
Yeah, I'm out. First round, good.
None. No strikes.
That's like me at bowling. Boy, I'll be bad.
Good.
Yeah, really.
Sammy no strikes.
Sammy knows what they call me on the rink.
Oh, SNS. Yeah.
Folks, if you ever want to challenge me at a game, you're going to win at bowling.
Oh, man. So, yeah, you get no strikes on this one. I think you'll breeze through the first, 2/3 of this list. The final third might get
Stop
a little
adding
bit
expectations to me playing a game, please.
It's been a while, Ben. Come on, give us a break.
I would like you to name the 21 drivers that have been on the podium with Lewis Hamilton more than once.
Oh, I give up. I fold. Harry wins.
I think you could probably name some. Harry, you can go first.
Max Verstappen.
You know what? He's been on a podium with Max Verstappen more than once.
Okay,
in fact, 60 times, which is the record for pair that have been on the podium the most times.
60 times.
60 times.
That's outrageous.
Wow, that is outrageous. Hopefully we get 9 more this year. I'm going to go with Valtteri Bottas.
Valtteri Bottas, 53 times they've been on the podium together. That's third all time. Harry.
Sebastian Vettel.
Sebastian Vettel, 56 times. That's second all time. Hamilton's very dominant on the overall list for this category, unsurprisingly.
He's got more than a few podiums.
He does. Sam, back to you.
Kimi Räikkönen.
Kimi Räikkönen is a correct answer. 32 times they've been on the podium together. Harry, back to you.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Daniel Ricciardo is a correct answer. 22 times they've been on the podium together. Sam.
George Russell.
George Russell is a correct answer. 6 times they've been on the podium together.
That was a bit risky, that one, actually.
It's more than one, so you're fine.
That's true.
Nico Rosberg.
Nico Rosberg, that's fourth most all time with 45. So this category, you've got Verstappen, Vettel, Bottas and Russell with Hamilton. That's the top 4.
Rosberg, not Russell.
Sorry, Rosberg, yes. Russell has identified.
We didn't say another R that we hadn't gone through there.
Yeah. Sam, back to you.
It's not that I haven't got names. It's just trying to pick the right one. And that is essentially the name of the game.
You have literally
wow. Jenson Button.
Jenson Button. 9 times.
Is that it?
That's it.
That is mad.
That is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I guess, the Button's best year 09, Hamilton wasn't as good because of the McLaren. But yeah, 9 times. That's it that they shared the podium.
I know, but even 10, 11, 12, they were teammates. 9 times isn't many. Anyway.
It is really weird. But yes, Button is a correct answer. Back to you, Harry.
Mark Webber.
Mark Webber. Also just 9.
Wow.
Somebody call 999.
Wow.
Radio silence.
Wait for the next person to fill in the rest of the song.
Yeah, you don't want to fill in the rest of this song because if you do, that's 1 and that's not a correct answer.
Okay.
Sam, back to you.
Felipe Massa.
Felipe Massa is a correct answer 19 times. Harry.
Fernando Alonso.
Alonso, 25 times they've shared the podium, which still doesn't quite seem like enough.
No.
But yet it is. Sam?
Don't like where we are now. I'm going to go with Charles Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc is a correct answer 15 times.
More than Jenson Button?
More than Jenson Button.
What is the world that we live in?
Harry?
How many got left?
1,000.
So many.
9.
Oh, God. The magic number.
John Kings is back.
Sergio Perez.
Sergio Perez is a correct answer. That's the last one in double digits, 13 times.
Really?
Yeah.
13?
I said that was less than Jenson Button.
I was worried that was going to be like 3.
13 times. Yeah, you're right. Doesn't seem right.
I don't understand history.
I'm assuming that all of Perez's podiums at Force India, Hamilton might have been on the podium for.
That's a valid shout.
But Yeah, it still doesn't seem right. Sam.
Carlos Sainz.
Sainz is a correct answer 9 times. So the same as Button.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Harry, back to you.
I actually don't know anymore.
I'll give you a clue.
Oh, go on then.
You know all of these drivers.
Oh, thank you. That's fine.
Perfect.
That would be a different clue for me because there's a chance I wouldn't.
PK?
I don't have any left in my head. I can't name any. I've got the opposite problem with Sam. I just can't name anyone.
Well, you can.
I can't. I've got nothing. I've got nothing left.
Who just followed us on Instagram?
Oh, yeah, definitely him. That's not a correct answer, I believe.
No.
Retired 8 years before he started driving. Probably not right.
Still a game.
I'll go for Lando Norris.
Lando Norris is a correct answer. 6 times they've been on the podium together. Sam, back to you. We have 6 names left.
Babyface?
It's not a correct answer.
Oh, go and cry about it, Kovalainen.
There are 7 names that have shared a podium with Hamilton just once. Kovalainen is on that list. So a very unlucky miss there. Any other names you've got? See if we can rattle off some of the others.
What are they, recent or a while ago?
Bit of both, to be honest.
Great.
A couple are recent. The others are further back.
Grosjean?
Grosjean, yeah, 3 times they've been on the podium together.
Remy G. No, I genuinely don't have anything left.
Nope.
I don't think I've got anything left to give.
Got nothing left.
All right. Ian Beale is a correct answer.
Niche.
Nick Heidfeld.
Kubica.
Yeah. Nick Heidfeld 5 times. Robert Kubica 4 times. Rubens Barrichello.
I almost said Barrichello. Damn.
Tim was crying about it.
Yeah. Britain 08 that we have reviewed as part of our historic race review on our Patreon.
Nice plug.
And also Valencia 09, which we haven't and probably never will. The other 2 that are more recent, Alex Albon and Oscar Piastri, twice each.
Piastri
and Albano.
The other near misses, by the way, were Alex Wurz, Nelson Piquet Jr., Glock, Trulli, Petrov, and Ocon. They've all shared a podium with Hamilton just once.
Good to know. For any other quizzes.
Yeah.
For when we do the
back and forth.
Hamilton 1 podium shared.
Alex Wurz will be top of the list.
I know we love to be British biased, but I would be British biased about the plug because honestly, we smash plugs, don't we? They're so secure in the wall. American plugs are terrible.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant actual like plugs for the Patreon. No, you meant genuinely
electrical
plug. Yeah, we a 3-pin plug.
The 3-pin plug.
It's the goat of plugs.
Can't be defeated.
I can't.
You trip over that, I'm breaking my leg before the plug comes out the wall.
I will get angry about this. I'm not going to talk about it. I'll probably start swearing at America.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was going to say, surely you have no issue with
plugs. Will just fall out the wall if you breathe on them.
I love you, America, but what are you doing?
There's fires and everything.
How can you have any electricity?
Which ping would you be in the 3 ping if you could be a ping? Ben's the top one. No, Ben, you're top middle.
All right.
There's no fuse in there at all, but you just hold us together.
No fuse, Ben.
Me and Harry are the conductors, but
it's like the step up from short fuse. I just don't have one. Permanently
cultural
gone.
Toto and short fuse bang. No fuse bang.
I enjoy this because it's a shorter podcast than normal. We're just hit the hour mark. So excellent work, everyone, with a plug chat.
And speaking of plugs, you can join Patreon. The link's in the description, and you get loads of extra content every single month, including Beer Breaking, historic race reviews, 2 extra episodes. Everything on there is ad-free. You also get a birthday shout-out in the top tier, and you also get special access and early access to tickets that we do for any live shows. The special on the
special access.
This is like free parking for some of them. Free
Shocking.
So check it out. It helps out the show massively. Discord's also available.
Don't do that again.
3,000 people who all love F1 across the world chatting in there. For us on social, Late Break F1. We hit 10K on Instagram. And we're well over it enough now, so we can celebrate. We actually did that. Thank you, producer Kirsten.
Big well done to all three of us.
Mate, we make the content.
We've done really well.
Yeah, she smashed it there. TikTok's growing. If you've got TikTok, we're on there as well. YouTube, 10K before Silverstone. Okay, I'll put a year in there, but you can watch all the content on YouTube as well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us for the new year. And we will see you every Wednesday and every Sunday all the way through to the start of the season and then every single race all the way through as well. In the meantime, I've been Samuel Sage.
I've been Ben Hocking.
And I've been Harry Eat.
And remember, keep breaking late.